So Diana Ross, and this is all. Oh, this is the beginning of this. Yeah, this is actually the first two numbers because I recognize the dress. This is pink and silver, and it really looks good. So that's how I keep the costume looking just like the costume should be. That's important to a lot of people in the audience. These people down here travel the world to see Diana Ross. They are serious. Actually, in San Francisco, it's really funny. They have a lot of cross-dressers down in the front row, and she goes up for a costume change, and they have a quick peel-off, and they're in another costume. And Diana Ross lookalikes turn up everywhere, especially in Las Vegas. There's one there who's actually a professional Diana Ross in one of the shows, and she always comes 6'2". I mean, Miss Ross is only like 5'2". So this is great big Amazon Diana Ross. And people want to pose with this monster. Anyway, she's really clever, but she's one of those, Diana makes 6 changes, she does 4, you know. Anyway, nothing as funny as folk or the music business. And again, video, here they are. You see a new costume. She's just lit in that one spot. This is a bit of a low angle. The perfect angle is about 35 degrees, because then your spill dies into the floor. Again, you can see that all key lit, and they all have this nice, healthy suntan, because I've got, this is 3,200 Kelvin, 575 watt, 19 degree source 4 with clean lenses. You know, a dirty lens knocks out 15% straight away. And they're all dimmed down a bit to, I'd say that's about 900, 2,900 Kelvin, just a bit. But so it's starting to brown out, but that's good. These guys are all white. These guys are black, white, and sandy colored. Yeah, they're fairly light tone. But there's a lot of skin tones there, but they all come out looking good. His wife said, Michael looks so good. You always make him look so good. It's 2 lights, that's it. And then it's backed off. And why does she say he looks so good? Well, she films him, and then they go and look at it at home. It's good. That's the most important thing I've told you today. And there she is again. This is all the Motown history. It's actually really fabulous stuff. And you run all this on this laptop, and I've just got a stack of little videos, and I can loop it. And I use a program that's actually free called QLab. And you can get that off the internet. You can rent it for $5 a day. You can buy it for $395 outright, or you can get it for free. Why free? Free doesn't allow you to save anything. You have to load it every time you need to use it. So you run it off of a thumb drive. But it's actually handy. You can drag and drop. You can change each. It has 8 video outputs. You can frame it. I mean, this is really simple technology. And all you have to do is press spacebar, and it automatically goes to the next link, and it'll roll until you either stop it, because you've set it in loop, or it'll go to the end of the loop, end of the video, and it'll pause right at the top of the next one, as long as you haven't got a little header or footer on it. So that's handy for video, and it's good organization. It really is simple. Because the resolution is pretty damn cheap. Well, Apples are good for some resolution. So again, all I'm doing here is, on this screen here, I've got 2 profile kind of moving lights sitting on the floor out here. On this one here, I also have 2. And on this one here, I have 1. And then here is the quick change booth. And she doesn't like that being off stage, so everything is built. That's the division. That's the moment. That's the governor of everything we do. Where the corner edge of that quick change room is. So here we are, LEDs lighting up and so on. Just video, star cloth, another costume. Okay. She's got this star cloth that she's had for about 25 years. This is really old. This is one of the very first fiber optic star cloths, but it's got 4 star fields and 10 circuits of fantastic Art Deco ray. I'm using Vari-Lights here. You can tell because this is a very unique gobo they have. It's made of glass. It's a print. She's kind of nice. And she's very easy to do. This is a local touring package. We rent 2 trusses, preloaded, 120 power cans. I think we use 17 Source 4s, and the rest we bring ourselves, which is 10 moving lights on the floor. And I'm happy to say the last outing we used the Elation Saturas, and the best thing about that is there's no DMX cable and no demand for a large amount of power. The LEDs up here, I have 14 of them sitting on the top of the truss. We fly the LEDs for the star cloth because then when you can fly the whole thing out, lamps and everything. If you had them on the floor, which would be easier, but you wouldn't be able to fly the cloth in and out. Not that I need to, but it's sometimes that's where you store all the boxes behind there, so it's nice to just raise it up. In theaters with fly bars, of course. Yeah, the Saturas I had on the floor here were remarkable. Everybody was really pleased with them because I had a quad box here and a quad box here, and they both plugged into local wall sockets. I ran 10 automated, well, the quad box had a little 3-way adapter as well, but I ran 10 lights on 2 circuits and the star cloth on a 3rd circuit, and that was the whole of our package. Meanwhile, they've got 5 cables, 4 arc, and it's all 3-phase and heavy duty. But that is an old style rig. You should be able to find it anywhere. I call it the county fair rig, and that's exactly what it is. It's pretty standard. And you send them a lighting plot which says do not construct from. And it's basically a color guide, and you how you patch the dimmers and how you want the desk arranged. 1 phone call after that and you're ready. That's a very cheap way of touring. Very affordable. Okay. Questions? Eric's not here? Good. Okay. Here's a design you can have for free. You can just tell me about it. Don't even have to give me a credit. And just tell me who your banker is. This is stupidly expensive. I proposed this to the Van Halen brothers. See, Eddie Van Halen can't walk up and down stairs. He's got the kind of hip problem. So I would have him come out and stand on here, and it would descend. It could also elevate, but it's a trapezoidal action. It's basically like an escalator. So the dance platforms turn into video screens. This was a video screen that floats down. This moves down, and the drummer goes up and down because they can. Remember, one of the Van Halens is the drummer. And yeah, you could, all this stuff's rental, or the fabric and the construction, not, you're going to spend at least $1.25 million to build that. You can have it for free. There's something for everybody. All right, let's go on. I keep reading this note. It's the same note with this slide. Oh, well. Okay, this is something that's, I'm just showing you stuff you can do with lights and how you can keep using the same old thing. And try not to make it look the same, though. Remember these from the Journey slides? They're just slabs of, okay, they could be anything, actually. Par lights, they could be LED walls like this. You could make them look like par lights by just running a video of par lights, So these could be, in this modern world, that I would mostly think that would be an LED wall. A lot cheaper than using all these little par lamps. You could use par lamps. You could use LED pars, which is not actually what they should be called, because par stands for parabolic aluminized reflector. It's a par-shaped LED light, or, as I say, just a simple wall like this one behind me. And again, hung on 2 motors and a 3rd motor to hinge it up. So you can start them down here, track them up, hinge them up, have them vertical. And if they were LED walls, they'd look really powerful. And again, if you use the daylight variety, daylight billboard hoarding, at 100% they are a serious light source. They will light the stage up. It'll be a very shadowless north light, which is quite good for television. Up here I've got trusses with moving fixtures, with the regular kind of moving profile kind of lights. Very low resolution screenery in here, which we've got some of here, I think. Everybody has it nowadays. It's about 40 to 50 millimeter. They're strips, and there's a lot of space behind it. You can project through. That's kind of good because they have a certain transparency to them. So I have 3 triangles. There's a truss up here with follow spots underhung. All this is a piece of material on a frame, and it's propped up. That's the cheap version. Oh, there's a hole in there. And this is stretchy material, and there's a rope, a cord that forms that. So when it's stretched to its pressure tension, this is mostly tacked on with Velcro. 2-inch wide Velcro, won't pull off. So this is some kind of spandex material. Lycra is actually the real name for it. Lycra is made from cotton and rubber, and spandex is highly flammable, nylon. The fire thing's really important. Okay, so the drummer sits in, you could have more holes, you could have your whole symphony orchestra in little holes all over it, depending on how big it is. I made it out of a truss in my imagination, because this has never been done. You're welcome to this as well. I made this out of a curved truss, which was ground supported, and it mostly had props backwards to stop it keeling over. You could build stairs all the way over, and you could build stairs from the back up to the top, grand entrance coming over the top. You could make this solid. I would make it dirigible, out of fabric, and then you can project on it. Or you could make it out of video tiles. I mean, it's endless. All a design really is a shape. And production design is not only shape, but practice, the operation. What you're going to do with it. How many gags can you get out of this? Okay, well, here's a simple, this is a projection or video wall. This is cool. Just the hole in the middle with a platform, the drummer's kind of in there. You could have another one here. I put the piano in for scale, actually. That's a 9-foot grand piano, C3. You could put another hole in here. I could get 3 holes into this, and it'll still kind of have it. You could make it taller, put another layer in. As I say, you could put stairs over it. That's another variation. You could have just ladders coming up to a simple platform at the top. But then you've got to get them down. You could even use children's playground flumes, so they just slide down. Those are extremely expensive. Hey, people spend money on their kids and pets, so they're all expensive. Can't think of anything else there. Oh yeah, and then a black RP screen, because it disappears, and it's affordable. And then you can shine lights up on the back of it or the front of it. Here's another variation of this same thing, just a different view. Change of color. It's actually the same drawing. Go for it. This one I can afford. In fact, I've done this for 8 different clients, and they all said, wow, this is so cool. What they really, really like about it is it's so easy to make. This is GarageBand. It's 1/2-inch cotton rope on all you have to know is how to cut rope. First of all, you tape around the rope with E-tape, electrical black PVC tape, and then you cut it. So now you've got 2 ends that are taped. You can use whatever color you want. Go to your local metal worker and get, this pipe here is 4 feet long, a very manageable size. I try to keep everything into standard increments. 8x4 is the governor for everything. 2 inches is the depth governor. That's a piece of pipe. 8x4 is a piece of wood, and that's really it. If you keep them all in those sizes, you'll find they'll fit through most doors and into most vehicles. So anyway, this is a pipe with holes, 1/2-inch holes drilled. The center of this is 3 inches from the end, and then after that, they're all 6-inch centers all across. To this one is 3 inches to its center. Now, if you butt that one up to that one, it automatically forms another 6-inch center. So you can cord them all together on a hanging pipe, hang them just on simple chain. I use chain and dog clips because it's a measuring device as well. You can count links, so you just put a couple of chains on and just go through the pipe because the rope will hold it all together. Another pipe on the bottom, but instead of, the way attachment here is a figure of 8 knot cut short, so it's just tiny little knots all across. At the bottom of the pipe, the rope goes through the pipe. And instead of using knots to tie it, you use little alligator clips. You can get them from Radio Shack. You might take a few days because you're going to order quite a few. But the trick is you can adjust the tension on each one so it's hanging evenly. If you make a bag that's got Velcro edges, not only is it the bag to contain the whole thing, because managing the rope is yeah, you can get a tangle, but if you drop it straight into a canvas bag that's just over 4 feet long and also has Velcro that attaches to the bottom pipe, or when you go into a venue that's not 30 foot tall, it's only 16 foot, you can move your pipe up and readjust all those little alligator clips and leave the rest in the bag and then attach the bag to the bottom pipe, and it also forms a little skirt. That's a real good thing to be able to do, is trying to make use of everything you've got. And yeah, that's the thing. You're going to end up with needing a ground pelmet of some kind anyway to tidy up the bottom, hide the excess, and you're going to have a bag anyway to manage it. And the trick is with a bag is you drop it straight into the bag as it winds down, and you just let it fall in, and it'll deploy the next day quite easily. This is an ordinary 24-foot wind-up, crank-up lift. I've put small lights up here because the whole point of this is a kind of a modest budget show, plus follow spots. There's no front truss. On the sides here, I've just used side fills. I put one on either side. Great place to light because these are wash lights. On this stage, I think this stage is 32 feet wide. That's kind of small. 24 feet is small, 32 feet's smallish. So these 4 wind-ups, you've got two 250 watt style platinum kind of light, like the 5R or 250 watt somebody else's, or even better, a nice LED light. And then all you have going up there, if it's an LED with radio, is you've just got a little 2-way outlet or quad box and 1 cable coming down. That cable could also power the single light on the floor and so on. A couple of floor lights, that's about, it'd be great if it was above head height, so about 7 foot. A riser, another riser just to show scale, and all this rope. I think the rope, you could make that if you were clever, good with a knife, good at knotting, got a yard. The rope's not going to cost you more than $500. The pipes maybe about $350. You're under $1,000, and that's 32 foot of backdrop. Why do I think it looks good? Because it does look good. This is it. This is completely solid. They're butted up together. I'd cut the ropes to 30. If you're traveling and going to various destinations, cut it to 30 foot. You can bring it down to 6 inches if you have to. I mean, that's the whole trick with the clips at the bottom and the bag to gather it all up in. And 4 foot's a very manageable size and also a very manageable one-man weight. Because if you're working on these small stages like this, it could be a club, it could be a church venue, it could be a social club. I mean, it could be the farm trailer. Wind is a bit odd with it. It's best if they don't move. But this really lights up like neon. There's very little light on here. I'm trying to count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, these are 3 down lights, and they've got a prism in. And these are 2 up lights, and I don't know what they're doing. But that's really it. And sorry, the black RP screen. But you don't need that. You could light the back wall or not light it. And another variation of this, and I can't remember who I've used this for. I used this as a backdrop for Sheila E. when she was the opening act and performed in Purple Rain. That was the tour. They needed a backdrop that was conceal the Prince's big system, but the people who had bought rear seats, this was the brief. We need a transparent backdrop that hides his stuff, but people can see through. I thought of this. The idea came to me. I was in a theater, and there's the Flyman's Arbor, all the ropes, all the line sets, 54 of them or whatever. And somebody was on stage, and a moving light just went across the whole lot. Oh my goodness, look at that. Ding, the light bulb moment. A few bucks later. So anyway, there I'm in Minneapolis, and they're saying, we need this for her. And something that you can see through that conceals. Anyway, I came up with this, and we made it overnight, me and the carpenter. And it went down like a storm. And then I used it on Chris Isaac, Jim Brickman, Mike and the Mechanics, a couple of school productions. Mine, I had my own set in the end, but unfortunately I left it in my garage, and the mice made a big nest out of it. They just, shredded, not all the strands. But anyway, I could repair it. The most difficult thing was making the pipes. Oh, yes, Joe Satriani. There it is. This is tall. This is a 36 foot. And this is their backdrop. I mean, look at it. It just lights up, slashing lights. You can light it with wash light. There is nothing behind there except for the theatre black. That's Satriani again. I mean, it lights up like neon. Now, one variation on this, and I don't have an example, is because these are in 4-foot strips, you can take the bottom panels and swap them around, and then you have to be a little bit more artistic, stand back a lot more, and you can get them to swag. It's rather, it's kind of an effeminate look, where this is, I think, a somewhat upright masculine look. Cheap and cheerful, that's what you can do with ordinary materials. The other thing I like is expanded metal mesh. Aluminum, you use a metal steel edge that stops it being sharp. That lights really well. It's also transparent, so you can layer it. I think I might have one of Mike and the Mechanics, which I did that. So anyway, that's the sublime to the ridiculous. The ridiculous, obviously, was the first one that not even Eddie Van Halen wants to afford. And the cheapest, and which I think is the sublime, is the rope drop. And those are things you can do. Really simple. And it's all about lighting, but lighting's all about objects. So look at your objects, cardboard tubes, PVC pipe, different sizes, different shapes. There's some architectural stuff here, actually. If you look in the corner, see, this is a piece of light. This is a little LED panel. Here's an ordinary piece of truss, but just the way it's been structured, it's become an architectural item. It's also quite an item that you could illuminate from another source. I rather like that. Who did that? Dennis. He did. There he is, the culprit's over there. He just had a moment of imagination. Okay, how are we doing on time out there? Good? 10 minutes. That's Sammy Hagar for you. Once upon a time, there was Sammy Hagar. I've known this man for 30-odd years, maybe more. And we used to live near each other. And I first met him when I worked for Peter Gabriel. And he said, I want you to work for me. And he tried to get me into Van Halen. Everything he wanted, Eddie Van Halen didn't. So that's why we can show you these expensive lighting rigs. So he left Van Halen for all sorts of reasons. And while all that had been going on, I've been involved in designing Cabo Wabo, which is his nightclub in Cabo St. Lucas. And it's still running, and it hasn't changed much in 30 years. This was an idea he had. Well, I'm talking to him about ideas, trying to keep him off the material thing. But what I do want is him to think visual. And out of the blue, he said, "Damn, I wish we could just bus everybody down to Cabo, and we stay there for the year." Oh, how about taking Cabo on tour, I said. Good idea. So anyway, this is the last hand-painted backdrop before digital I ever did, and it's really a nice piece. It's about 30 by 60. This is all painted. This is actually a photo shoot outside Tower Records in San Francisco on a very cold morning. That's why he's wearing a coat. This is his real car. This is him real. That's a real palm tree, and the rest is all hand-painted. Hand-painted. Really is good, actually. So Hagar was a man who doesn't like to waste anything. He's frugal. He's very budget conscious, in other words. So the first thing we did was these strips, these panels, and they're you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're 10 panels a side. It's 20 panels. They're 4 foot wide. There's a bar at the top. The material is Velcroed. Actually, it's sandwiched between the bar and a little sandwich plate and bolts. And it hangs down to, on the bottom is a pipe pocket with a solid steel bar in it, round. It weighs about 55 pounds. This is because we played indoors and outdoors. That was to stop it flaming. And these are like vertical Venetian blinds. On one side is black, on the other side is white. This is the white side, and this is all projection and gobos and fancy stuff. And above each panel was a moving wash light. I think it was a Mac 600. And one part of the show was all colorful backwash, and the other part was all beams and rays. Unfortunately, most of the photographs I have are the interesting side, the backwash. This is that water effect I was describing. Unfortunately, I don't have the animated version, but this is what it is, and it's like rippling water. It's the reflection you'd get at sunset from your swimming pool onto the patio wall. And it's just a revolving tube. You can actually make one out of cardboard, but if you use LEDs, it'll work. It doesn't have to be a focus light. It's just a light that only can come out of a box through the rotating tube, which has kind of little slots in it that look like waves. So this is a reasonably long story, but you'll see this is how not to waste anything. So this is just the same thing. Now each panel had its own light. The truss is up here, there's a lamp, and each panel has actually got a king post, which is about 3 foot long. So the top of the panel actually can swivel around underneath its light. And what's happening here is red is chasing blue from there to the middle, from there to the middle. And so that'll become red. And they just chased along. Very simple. More. Next. Same stuff. Now, interesting again, here's a television technique. The band are mostly silhouette. They're lit from up here. They're lit from a front truss, but trying to keep them almost featureless. He's the feature, and he actually isn't in a spot. But again, I use that single spot technique. It works out a lot well. Anyway, let's spin through these. So here's the conversation. Let's go to Cabo. No, let's take Cabo on tour. This is the club, and I took lots of photographs. The story, this used to be Eddie Van Halen's guitar, so that's still there, but that's mostly gone now because Eddie Van Halen's gone now. It's a funny story about those guys. So this was all done by local graffiti artists. When we built the club, I had all these ideas, and there were other people with ideas. The architect had ideas, and we went to the local police station and said, "Can we, get the probation officer for all the local graffiti artists?" And they had 6 guys who'd been busted for graffiti. So we employed them, and they came and painted the club. So here's the drawing. Now you do it, because they only have 1 graffiti style each. So anyway. That's how that came about. Cabo Wabo looking, this is his birthday bash. Every October it becomes that. People like Kenny, come on, country guy. Kenny Chesney, thank you. He comes down there once a year, and he'll stand there on his big hat and frisbee it out in the audience. Says, "That's country." Put on his baseball cap, and for the rest of the week he'd play rock and roll. It's kind of a holiday for the band. It's fun. So there's the backdrop again, dreadful picture. Okay, so we decide we're going to take this on tour, the club on tour. And the other thing was in the club there's a lot of stairs, and quite often a lot of the background is people, because it's very close, small stage, and people are wrapped around it. So we built this system of risers and offered radio stations prize tickets, 75 of them, to be on stage with Sammy Hagar. And we built this little set of risers and stairs, and this archway is actually going, this is in a rehearsal room, is going down, that's how they got up. And this is all handrail bamboo and steel wire. This distance is 5¼ inches. It's called baby head size. It's so babies can't crawl through them, fall. Well, we're not going to have babies on stage with this. And the way this works, the bamboo is actually rather strong, but it's not strong enough. Here's the steel wire. Inside here is square steel tube, and there. In fact, all this structure was made of square steel tube, and it's welded, and it's in bamboo. This was all welded underwater in a swimming pool. Made a real mess of the pool, but anyway, that was because the bamboo was going to burn. And then once we finished, we bound it in this waxed twine. I like that story. That's a really clever way of doing welding in flammable material. 3 minutes. All right, so that's the handrails. We built it, and I took pictures of all the deco down there, and we built these panels, and it wrapped around. And everything on this stage is a replica of Cabo Wabo. And again, and then once we painted it all, we painted it again. This is all hand painted, by the way. We painted again in invisible ultraviolet. So not only did it have color, which really reacted to lighting well, it also popped in ultraviolet. I mean, really stood out. And that was the whole gag. We're coming along here. We could pause in the middle of this. I don't mind. Yeah, it's just people. Oh, then there are many variations of it. One time we just used these little rolling bleachers, but the whole idea was the same. Always have a backdrop of living people. This is a huge tequila bottle that used to beat, and things fell out of it. Girls once in a while. Yeah. And they always brought banners, and speeding through this, I don't know why I've got so much of this. Yeah, it's Sammy. All right, this is the next phase. So we move on, and now these are all solid, but those revolving panels have now been painted with more decorations from the club. This is a surfing Aztec head, kind of cool actually. It was very small detail, but became very tall. This is again 30 feet. And these panels were black on one side and painted on the other. And we had, in this area here, we had the big backdrop, the hand-painted backdrop, and that was the curtain. And these were turned black, so when people came in, all they saw was the hand-painted drape. The hand-painted drape whooshed off to behind here and fell into a basket on a traveler track. And these revolved to reveal the hand-painted stuff. Later, oh man, I put some stuff in it. So then we started redeveloping it, and these are the CAD drawings, renderings. I'm not trying to impress him with my artistic skills. He's just going to get the raw renderings as CAD drawings, because we don't have to explain much to him. In fact, yeah, he gets the idea. We know what we're talking about. But what's important is the style of art is no longer graffiti. It's become much more graphic. It's become grown up, because suddenly he owns a tequila company, and he's trying to market not only his lifestyle, he's also trying to sell his tequila. And with this is a negative of a Cabo Wabo menu, because we hadn't finished the detail for that yet. Anyway, there's the risers. Here's the little tequila bar. And I think we'll stop right there.